Hello and welcome to the first Wednesday wrap-up of the 2021-22 NHL season. We're a month pretty much into the season and it is well worth now getting the Wednesday wrap-up show underway. Yes, it is Wednesday, that means it's Wednesday wrap-up and I am very excited to be here this evening. My name is Matt, it says so below me so it must be true, and the idea of the Wednesday wrap-up, this is the first time we're doing it, is that I will be going through all 32 NHL teams. We will be having a look at each one. I will be picking out some key things from each team, one key thing from each team, whether that's something good, whether that's something bad, whether that's something funny. There will be something about each and every team in the NHL. And there is plenty of news to be catching up on, not least some breaking news. It's just over the past couple of hours about the Pittsburgh Penguins. Some more bad luck for them, but we will come to that soon. I hope you're all doing well. If you are watching live on the chat, then do let us know. And join in on the chat. I can bring through the comments. So if you're watching live, get involved and get in touch. And if you're watching on record or on repeat, however you want to call it, then you can join in and you can talk about my comments and about your chosen team or other teams. Let me know in the comments and we will do, we will have a little review. I will come back to it all and argue about what we're talking about. We shall see. I suspect I won't be arguing because, you know what, it's all about opinions and my opinions are worth what they are worth. That is up to you to decide. But yes, Wednesday is hump day. It feels like a good moment really because here in the UK it is just gone 8 o'clock in the evening, so we've got most of the working week done, 2 more working days to go, and then it's the weekend, but that goes so quick, doesn't it? So reminder to myself, I need to book some leave. Yes, I need to book some leave from work. But as you saw just a second ago before it disappeared, Dafters Puck, so you can follow us on Twitter by that name, and we do 2 other shows on the week. Wednesday is the Wednesday wrap-up. Friday is Well Oiled, my show about the Oilers. That's at 9 p.m. in the UK. And Sunday Hockey Breakfast at 9 a.m. here in the UK. And that's a nice relaxed look at the NHL news from the previous few days. So always a good time. I had some porridge going last time. It'll probably be porridge again looking at the weather here in the UK. It's definitely turned. The clocks have gone back an hour. And the weather has gone back to cold and rainy and all of that stuff that we like to talk about here in the UK. But what I like to talk about is the NHL and all 32 teams in the NHL. So, where should I start? I shall start, if I click the correct button anyway, in the Eastern Conference and the Atlantic Division. Fingers crossed, I clicked the right button. Boom! Look at that. Perfecto, right from the off. This is a good start. So yes, it is the Eastern Atlantic Division, and there's plenty to look at here, and I will go through each team as they come to me. So we will start off with the Boston Bruins. They put down the Panthers, that's what I've put in my notes here. They were the first team to defeat the Florida Panthers, earning a shootout win on Saturday, to put the Panthers on 8-1, 8 wins, 1 loss. So well done the Bruins for taking that 0 away from the Panthers and getting things going. And talking about the Florida Panthers, let's get to them next. There was a new man in charge, of course. Joel Quenneville has resigned because of his time at Chicago and all of the horror that happened there and all of the horror that we've been catching up on. So he is gone and Andrew Brunette is now in the spotlight. He's been the assistant coach there for the past 3 seasons and has now been landed in it in many ways. It's a big dream for everyone to be a head coach in the NHL, but this is a really tough way to get that first gig. Team were rocking and rolling when he joined in and they won the first game under him. I think that was against Nashville, wasn't it? Let me have a quick look. No, they won against Detroit and then lost against Boston. So, but I will say in his press conference after that first game, he did handle things very well. Unlike some people in the NHL, notably some of the Chicago Blackhawks, he did talk very well about it being more important to think about Carl Beach, the minor leaguer who suffered sexual abuse while at the Chicago Blackhawks, and it all being covered up. So yeah, he handled what was a very difficult situation well, I thought. So good luck to him. He is still in an interim role and you do wonder what's going to happen there as to whether, if they hit a rough patch, whether he'll be moved back to assistant and he'll bring someone else in. But it's tough to do that. The Florida Panthers are a team that quite a few people were thinking of picking, at least getting quite deep in the playoffs, if not going all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. So they are starting off well, that is for sure. So good luck to him, because he's doing well so far. The team is too. Let's move on to Detroit Red Wings, because we just mentioned those. Putting on the Mo Ritz, I've put in my notes here today, so you get the puns for free at Daffodil's Puck. Moritz Seider was named the NHL October Rookie of the Month. And that's a good one from the point of view as a European hockey fan, because the German defenseman was drafted back in 2019 by the Detroit Red Wings in the first round. He was 6th overall pick by Detroit. And last year played in the Swedish Hockey League. I think it was Dougal, something like that. They've ripped off the Oilers logo, I know that much. But he played for them last year, actually played against Britain in 2019 in the World Cup, scored against Great Britain in that game, but we won't hold that against him. But has started off really well. He looked good in camp when they came back earlier, just after the summer, and he made the team, as was sort of expected, I would say, but he certainly earned his spot on the roster and had an excellent first month. So well done to Moritz Seider, putting on the Mo Ritz. Next up, we have the Montreal Canadiens. Oh dear, things are tough in Montreal. They did get a win last night, so at least they got a 3-0 win against Detroit, to at least put a third win on the board for the season, but it has been a struggle for them, there is no doubt. And one person who was particularly struggling was Cole Caulfield, top prospect. Lots of people had him down as a prime contender for Rookie of the Year honours this year, but after struggling through those first few games, he has been demoted down to the AHL. There was lots of excitement with him, not least because of the way he played in the playoffs earlier this year. Maybe it was a bit too much too soon to expect him to come straight in on the roster right from opening day this year. But look, there's no denying his talent. He's a quality goal-scoring threat, and he's going to come good at some point. It's a minor roadblock on what should be an impressive career, so let's not write this guy off just yet. But it kind of sums up the Canadiens' season, really, that they came into it with such optimism after reaching the Stanley Cup final last year, and yeah, things have not gone their way so far. Next up, the Ottawa Senators. Yes, Drake, I put in my notes, Drake with an exclamation mark. Drake Batherson was named the NHL's second star of the week last week, which is nice, I guess. He tallied 6 points over the course of 2 games, scoring his first career NHL hat-trick on October 25th in a 7-5 loss to Washington, and got an assist in that game too, and then he followed it up with a 2-assist effort on the Friday in Dallas. So well done, Drake. Second star of the season, of the week. That's something, I guess. Does he get a star to put on his chest? I would demand a pin, a star pin to put on my jersey. Lightning, I was going to say lightning on the horizon. Tampa Bay Lightning had a difficult start, didn't they? It was kind of a bit of a Stanley Cup hangover almost. The 2-time champs started off a bit lackluster, but they inflicted the first regulation time defeat on Washington on Monday. That made it 3 wins in a row for the reigning champs. So they're now 5-3-1 on the season, and they seem to be finding their feet, and we all knew they would do. They've got far too much quality. I know they lost some key players they lost quite a bit of depth in their roster over the off-season, but they're still a real quality contender, no doubt about that. And they're going to go deep, you would think. Moving on, we've got the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're another team that started off a bit shaky, but maybe they are starting to see a turnaround for Toronto. They had a confident 4-0 win over Vegas last night. Completes 3 wins on the spin for them. And in particular, 2 goals in the second period for Austin Matthews. That's 3 goals on the season for him. And of course, we all know when he starts heating up, he is very, very difficult to contain. So good news for the Maple Leafs. And finally, going back to the second team on my logos, the Buffalo Sabres. And I've put anyone taking the Eichel. We shall see. It's a bit like the old thing about If a tree is cut down in a forest and no one's there, does it make a sound? If Jack Eichel gets traded but he can't actually play, does it really matter? Well, I guess it does, because he's under contract for several more years. Clearly, it seems like his time with the Sabres is up. And the reports over the weekend, and now growing more steam over the course of this working week, is that there are two main teams now in the running for him. One of them is the Calgary Flames, the other is the Vegas Golden Knights. The Golden Knights always look like a potential candidate. So much strength in how they play, but they arguably don't really have a top line centre. So it looked like they would be in play, and it does sound like that is the case. No deal has yet been made, but apparently both teams, both the Flames and the Golden Knights, are happy for him to have the surgery he wants to have. That will mean he's still going to be out for a while. You would think by the timescales he may be able to play at some point later in the season, but I guess we still don't know, do we? So, yes. But it does look like the Jack Eichel saga is coming to a head, and the Sabres have managed it well, I think, in terms of the team on the ice, have at least kept going and haven't let it be a distraction. But of course, they want to get that solved. He's such a key player, such a big player. If he's not going to be part of their future, they need to get something that's either going to be part of their future or part of their present for him, and just move on and get a deal done. And if we have a look, I think I can have a look if I've done this right. Oh, I might have. Fingers crossed again. Boom! Yes! There we go. Look at this. This is live by the seat of my pants or something or other. Yes, here we go. This is good. So this is from NHL.com, of course. This is the Atlantic standings. So Florida lead the way with 17 points, 8 wins, 1 overtime loss. Then Tampa Bay, who've really come on. Buffalo and Toronto all tied on 11 points. And Montreal, oh dear, difficult times for them. Down the bottom, still only 11 games in, but still. Yes, not good, is it? 8 losses already on the season. So, let us head back to the divisions and move on to Metro League. And I shall turn over my notes, because I've got more notes than an orchestra or something. We will start off with the Carolina Hurricanes, because where else can you start? They are the unbeaten team, 8 games, 8 wins, 16 points on the board. Just the only team without a loss of any kind so far this season. We knew they would be strong, and boy are they proving to be so. They beat Arizona 2-1 on Sunday. That was with the Coyotes coming in without a win so far this season. The next team they are playing are the Chicago Blackhawks, who they face tonight. Now, the Blackhawks did get their first win of the season last time out, so the Carolina Hurricanes can't do that again in terms of keeping the 0 on the board in the win column for their opponents. But let's be honest, tough ask for the Blackhawks tonight to fight off the Hurricanes, because they are on, well, not quite on fire. They are whizzing around and causing havoc like the Hurricanes that they are. Next up, the Columbus Blue Jackets. I mean, there's not a lot to say. I was looking through the notes. They started off okay, to be fair to them, but there's nothing kind of stand out about them. The one thing I did see, I put Sack puts in a shift, because the Blue Jackets won a wild one against the Devils on Sunday, 4-3 in a shootout victory. Sack Werenski, that's the name. During that game, he was on the ice for 33 minutes and 3 seconds. That is a shift and a half by Sack, so good on him. Next up, those New Jersey Devils. So, legs and hands I've put in my notes, and that will sound weird because it is weird. But here we go. They suffered a 4-0 loss to the Ducks last night, and it prompted a wonderful quote from their coach Lindy Ruff, which is a good name, one of many good names in the NHL. He said after the game, "We didn't have the hands. Sometimes when you don't have your legs, you don't have your hands." Yes, fair point, sir. Fair point, Lindy Ruff. I think what he was saying, I'm not sure what he was saying. I think he was saying because they didn't have their legs, they weren't getting about the ice enough, so they didn't get into good positions. I don't know. All I know is he said, sometimes when you don't have your legs, you don't have your hands. Which is a statement. Hopefully they do have Dougie Hamilton. I will say he was one of their key free agent signings of the off-season, signed him to a big contract. He left the game after the first period, didn't play in the second and third periods because of an injury. It said it was, they love these very vague injury descriptions, don't they? It was a lower body injury or something like that. So he was being looked at after the game. So no update as yet, as far as I can see. But yeah, hopefully for Devils, he is not going to be out for too long. Next up, we have the New York Islanders, and I put road dogs for them because they are keeping things going whilst being on this mammoth roller coaster of a road trip, because the first game at their new UBS Arena does not take place until Saturday, November 20th, and that's against Calgary. So they are on the road at the moment. They're starting out with 13 games on the road, in fact. They've got something from each of their last 5 games, 3 wins, 2 overtime losses, so they got a point in each of those. So they are getting going, and the key thing, of course, is that when they finally get into that new arena, is to take on all the momentum and all of the positivity of the new setting for all of the fans who are going to be absolutely thrilled to be in that new arena. And they've got to make it work because they're keeping their heads above water, they're doing a decent job, but they've now got to make the home games count when they do come along. And that's easier said than done when the pressure's on. So we'll see how that goes. Next up, it's the New York Rangers. My simple title for that one is Fox Me. Yes, Adam Fox. He has signed a 7-year extension, $66.5 million. That's an average annual value of $9.5 million. The Norris Trophy winner from last season is now set to be a cornerstone player at Madison Square Garden for years to come, as he hoped he would, coming from the area as a kid. And where did he start out? Was it the Flames who drafted him? He went through a couple of teams, didn't he? But he found his way across to the Rangers and has certainly made a home there. Beloved by the Rangers fans. And yes, he will be there for some time to come, you would think. Next up, the Philadelphia Flyers. They are back off a road trip. They were at home yesterday against the Coyotes, which is about as nice a treat home as you can get at the moment. Sean Couturier scored just 7 minutes into the third period, and prior to this the Flyers have gone 7 consecutive periods without a goal. So when you look at the stats, they've scored a decent number. They've scored 28 goals so far in 8 games, so nothing too shabby there, but they have been on a cold streak in front of the net, so we're glad to get that one out of the way. Washington Capitals, I'm going to jump to them, and of course it's Ovi and Ovi again. Alex Ovechkin named first star of the month, so he got in with a first star for October. Led the league with 9 goals in 8 games. That's just what he does, isn't it? He now is 2 goals shy of matching Brett Hull for 4th place in NHL history. That would be on 741 goals in his career. And finally, we have to go to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So it all started off so difficultly for the Penguins, missing so many key players, not least Sidney Crosby. He finally was able to come back from his wrist surgery in the off-season, get on the ice on Saturday. Didn't go well. He caused a foul that led to a penalty shot, which meant they ultimately lost the game, and that was against, who was that against? Can't remember. It was against someone, another team. And then, just a couple of hours ago this evening, here in the UK, it has been announced that he has tested positive for COVID. So Sidney Crosby is going to be out for a little while. Of course, the main thing is that he suffers no ill effects and is going to be okay. No word yet on any sort of symptoms or how he is. But yes, that's a big blow, yet another big blow for the Penguins and for Sidney Crosby. You were expecting that it would take him a little while just to get up to speed properly, because he hadn't been through the normal pre-season regime you would normally have and then getting into the game. So you thought it would take him a little while to get up to speed, but that is going to be put on hold for a little bit longer too. So yeah, tough times for Pittsburgh. And if we take a look at the standings, if I move it up a little bit, there we go. So of course Carolina are out in front with their 8 wins from 8 games. Rangers have played quite a few, haven't they? 10 games so far, done pretty well across the board at 14 points. And Washington in 13 points. and Philadelphia with 11, but Pittsburgh at the moment at the bottom. 3 wins from their 8 games. 2 overtime points, but yes, tough times for the Penguins now with Sidney Crosby out for a little while with COVID. So again, let's just hope that there were not too much in the way of ill effects for Sid, and he's able to get back on the ice and get back raring to go very soon. Talk about that raring to go, we're going to do a quick little Daffodils Puck promo, and then we will be back to take a look at the Western Conference. So here we go, the Western Central. It is up there on the board. Look at this, that was pretty good. I had to double check before I clicked it, so apologies for the black screen, but better late than never. And here we are, the Western Central, and we have to start with Arizona. I am sorry, Coyote fans. They were the Phoenix Coyotes, they are now the Arizona Coyotes. We may as well call them the no-win Coyotes. The 3-0 loss to the Flyers last night makes it 10 games without a win to start the season. They did get 1 game into overtime, but tough start for the Coyotes. Obviously, all of the issues around their arena and where their new home is going to be, if they're going to get a new home anytime soon. So everything is in flux for the Coyotes at the moment. All 3 goals in the Flyers game came in the 3rd period, so they got through the first 2 periods okay, but then all fell apart, and that is quite apt, unfortunately, for the Coyotes at the moment. Talking about things falling apart, next up, the Chicago Blackhawks. Yes, so much we could talk about with them. I'm not going to talk about too much, but I am going to say Kane is able. Wasn't able to speak appropriately after the investigation report came out, but he was at least able to do some talking on the ice. Grabbed a hat-trick on Monday in a 5-1 win over the Senators. That's the first win of the season for the beleaguered Blackhawks. And as I mentioned, they now take on the Carolina Hurricanes tonight. Was it the Hurricanes they take on? Yes. They take on the Canes. So can they take down the Canes? We will see. Doesn't seem very likely, but stranger things have happened in the NHL in the past. Next up, the Colorado Avalanche. Not too much to say about them, really. They've just got 2 big wins, I would say. A tough start, but they've now got 2 strong back-to-back wins against the Blues and the Wild to close out the month, so there's no reason to be concerned about how the Avalanche have started. It's just a bit tricky, but you know they're going to come good, so yes, I'm sure they'll pick up soon. Talking about a team that needs to pick up, what about the Dallas Stars? Dearie me, 3-4-2 is their start. They just seem they can't get going, it seems to me. Familiar story last night. I watched for the highlights against the Jets. They fought back with 2 goals in the 3rd period to take it to overtime, only to lose in a shootout. So it seems like even when they do well, they end up coming out bad anyway. So another good coach quote. I always love a good coach quote. Dallas coach Rick Barrios said, "I always say, when you lose in a shootout, you don't lose the game, you lose in a skills contest." Do you always say that, Rick? I mean, you can say that. You don't lose the game. Well, you kind of do. You do. Anyway, if the Dallas Stars want to say that wasn't a loss, that's fine. At least they got a point, of course. But yeah, it sums things up at the moment. They're clutching at straws, it seemed. Creating lots of chances from what I can see from the highlights, and it's just not going for them. They need to turn it around quick, that's for sure. Next up, the Minnesota Wild. Here's another team that aren't scoring a lot of goals, but they are the 1-goal wonders. They have got 6 wins on the season so far, and all 6 of them have come by a margin of 1 goal, including last night's 5-4 overtime win against Ottawa. I guess, hey, it doesn't matter how many you win by, it's how many you win. So they're at least being very efficient in the way they're winning at the moment. The Wild, so not so much the Minnesota Wild as the Minnesota Efficient. Maybe they can get a new jersey for that. Nashville Predators are up next. They put out the Flames. That's what I put on their thing. Obviously, as an Edmonton Oilers fan, that put a smile to my face. They went into Calgary last night, but the Flames are red hot. They've won 6 in a row. But yes, they managed to gain an overtime victory, and that actually makes 4 wins in a row for Nashville. So they're coming along quite well. no one's expecting too much from them, I don't think, this season. But getting a few wins on the board early, which is good for them. Next, another team that's been getting wins on the board early are the St. Louis Blues. A team that's, I don't know, they're certainly not out of the conversation coming into the season in terms of going deep in the playoffs. They kind of, they kind of feel like they're a bit on the downside, but if they can put it together, they can put it together. And they've certainly started off well, 6-1-0, top of the division. They've got a 4-game road trip to come, though, so we'll see how they come through that. And they will be playing without a few players, not least their captain Ryan O'Reilly, Husso, Clifford. They're all on the COVID restricted list, and obviously we've just talked about Sidney Crosby being on COVID, although he has actually got COVID. But the COVID restricted list is hitting quite a few teams at the moment. And finally, in Central, we are looking at the Winnipeg Jets, because the Jets are flying, you have to say. Shootout win over Dallas last night. They have got a 7-game point-scoring run on the go. They lost the first 2 games of the season, but now the last 7 games they've won 5 and taken 2 into overtime. So they're going pretty well, and we can, by the wonders of me, look at that's not true, that's blatantly not true. Here we go. So here are the standings from NHL.com. St. Louis, 7 games played, 6 wins, 1 loss. So 12 points there. Tied on 12 points with Winnipeg and Minnesota. And down the bottom, oh dear, oh dear. Slim pickings at the bottom between Chicago and Arizona. Not looking good, is it? Not looking good for Arizona. It is not good. I mean, they've got their classic logo back, but that's about all that's going on for the Coyotes right now. So, tough for the Coyotes, but there we go. We need to focus now on the final division, and that is, of course, the Pacific. And as an Oilers fan, it is the most important one, and it is the one which currently sees the Battle of Alberta right at the top of the standings. But we'll go in alphabetical order, I think. Anaheim Ducks, we have to start with Ryan Getzlaf. See what I've done? See what I did? Ryan Getzlaf became the Ducks' all-time leading point scorer, that is, guiding Anaheim to a 4-2 win over the Montreal Canadiens on Sunday. So that is 999th point in that game, passing the legend, that is Teemu Selanne. I remember watching him in the early 2000s, I think, on Channel 5, hockey on Channel 5 back in the day. But yes, a great achievement for Ryan Getz, good for him. Next up, we will go to the Calgary Flames. So you have to give it to them. They have been red hot. Their unbeaten streak going really well. But the Predators snapped it last night with an overtime win. So that snapped the win streak at 6. Darryl Sutter was happy enough with it. He was talking after the game about the fact that, well, it was still a good point in context, so nothing to be too worried about. They outscored their opponents 25-7 during a 6-game streak, and at the heart of that was Jacob Markstrom. Difficult to talk about him for me, because there was talk a couple of off-seasons ago. He was really between the Oilers and the Flames as to who would get him. We weren't really able to fit it in with our salary cap. Would be a lot better off today if we were, I think. But yes, Markstrom, he entered last night's game. This is from NHL.com, with back-to-back shutouts and 3 and 4 games, and had his shutout streak end at, I think it's 144 minutes 46 seconds by the looks of this, which was pretty good going. Fair play, Mr. Markstrom. Next up, we have to talk about the oil, of course. Friday nights, we are well oiled, so I'll be leaving the key details to that one. But I will say, if you take a quick look at the top two point scorers across the NHL right now, who do you see? Of course, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. Both have 17 points, over 4 points for Leon, the Kaiser, against Seattle on Monday. And that reminds me, I need to record a song for Leon, because I was watching the game and I suddenly realised that Draisaitl rhymes with bicycle, and therefore I could come up with a song to him by the Queen song, I Want to Ride My Bicycle. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but I'll work on that this weekend. Look out for that on Daft Dust Puck. If that doesn't make you subscribe to the YouTube channel, I don't know what will. Next up, we have the LA Kings, and they've been through a real tough time, haven't they, with injuries. But they did get a good win against the Sabres in the early game on Sunday. I watched that, so that started, I think it started about 8 o'clock on Sunday our time. They're back at it again tonight against the St. Louis Blues. And Kings lifer Onze Kopiti. Where are we? Onze. Yes. That's the one. Onze Kopitar. I always get that wrong. Onze Kopitar scored his 7th goal of the season against Buffalo. 353 on his career in the Kings uniform, of course. Passed 1,000 career points back in May last season, so good for him. Next up, the San Jose Sharks. They've had a good start to the season, haven't they? There was such turmoil, or a bit of turmoil at the very least, over the off-season, but they've started 6-3-0, following a 5-3 win over the Sabres last night, and that was despite the fact that they were one of the teams that have been really hit by the COVID protocol at the moment. 7 players and their head coach, the boogeyman, they were all out because of, I think it's contact tracing and stuff like that. So they rallied well, and one guy in particular, Ryan Merkley, was one of the players called up from the AHL because of all the loss of those players. He made his debut on Saturday and scored his first NHL goal last night, so well done to Ryan. Next up, Seattle Kraken, and it is COVID with a K for them as well. Unfortunately, the leading Kraken point getter so far, Jared McCann, and the assistant coach, Paul McFarland, were scratched an hour before Sunday's game against the Rangers because they've been placed in the COVID-19 protocol. So tough news for them. It's the second time this season, in fact, that McCann has been placed on that. So he's not exactly doing well. Keep away from Jared McCann, I would say. Next up, Vancouver Canucks. A home win for Vancouver. Yeah, their fans seem to be getting a bit frustrated about the way they were playing in the first 3 home games. They lost all 3 of those. They finally beat the Rangers in overtime last night at home to get their first win at Rogers Arena. They turned it around by scoring twice in the third period to level the game 2-2, and then JT Miller scored his second of the game, third of the season in overtime to win it for the Canucks. And then finally we come to the Fakers Golden Knights, as I like to call them, the Fakers shiny helmets. They wore their shiny helmets against the Oilers the other day. You can add Carlson to the list, unfortunately, for these guys. So yeah, boy, have they been snake bit so far this season. So William Karlsson, the centre, is now on the injured list, out 4 to 6 weeks for them because of a broken foot. I think it was a puck he took on the foot, wasn't it? But they're without loads of people, aren't they? Stone, just loads of them. I think they've got 6, 7 out, including Zach Whitecloud, because he's recently signed a contract extension and has an upper body injury, whatever that may be. Take your pick. But take your pick, we will have a look at the division standings. Here we go. And there they are. Edmonton out in front, sort of. I'd say we're out in front because we've played 8 games rather than 9 for Calgary. 14 points for Edmonton, 14 for Calgary. San Jose, as I said, really going well to start the season. Positive start for them. Seattle are down there at the bottom, but I mentioned this the other day. I don't think we should be too harsh on them and take Vegas as a yardstick for them too much. I think that's asking a bit much for them this season, but certainly it's been fun to see all of the fans at Climate Pledge Arena. It's great to have hockey back in Seattle, so I don't think we should be too harsh on how they go this season. There is some talk, maybe they could get into that first spot and get into the playoffs. I think that's going to be asking too much for them this season, but you never know. And yeah, if they make strides this season, Jordan Eberle played pretty well, former Oilers player, played against us, did Larson as well. So it's good to see a couple of former Oilers playing against us, particularly because the Oil ended up winning the game anyway. But there we go. That is the 4 divisions, and there are all 32 teams covered in a Wednesday wrap-up. There we go. So, thank you for watching. It's been a lot of fun. First time I've done a Wednesday wrap-up, and I shall be doing this every Wednesday, 8 PM here in the UK, and it's going to be a good time. Don't forget to follow along at Daft Does Puck. We will be back on Friday at 9 PM UK time with Well Oiled, and then back at 9 AM on Sunday UK time with Sunday Hockey Breakfast. I've been Matt Smith. I'm still Matt Smith. I've got no idea why people say that on TV. I've been whoever. You are that person. I am Matt Smith. I have been on your YouTube channel live on Daft Does Puck, and now I am going there is Champions League football on at the moment. I shall have a watch of that, and then I shall get ready for the Oilers game tonight. I'm probably not going to watch it live, but I'll get up early in the morning to watch it back. Come on, Neon. Hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know in your comments. We will be back with a Wednesday wrap-up next Wednesday, but before then, it is well oiled on Friday, and then the Sunday hockey breakfast. So, until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.